At some point, my navigation, my tripper navigation I was trying to show off, will make sense. It's just telling me turn around, turn around, turn around. There we go. So in a mile and a half, it's telling me to make a left. I think we're getting it. I think we're getting back to normal navigation. Hello, my name is Dylan from Throttle Company, and I'm going to be doing another episode of In the Loop, which is a series where we at Throttle Company, which is a vintage motorcycle shop and a Royal Enfield dealership, so brand new Royal Enfields, even though that one's an old one, and we do videos where we show off sometimes vintage, sometimes modern, but basically I'm in the very unique position to ride a lot of these beautiful motorcycles, and I want to give you an idea of what it's like. Today we're doing a fresh off the press the hottest motorcycle, that is the Royal Enfield Meteor. It just came out. We did an unboxing video on this channel, if you can check that out. Sort of unboxing. It's uncrating. They come in a crate, and we said our first impressions, and I've had a chance to ride it. I actually did a video, but the sound got messed up, so hopefully this one goes better. But here is our demo bike. So we do test rides. This is actually all of them in a row, and then at the end is one of our mechanics, Zach, on his own Interceptor. So this is the Royal Enfield Meteor 350. So they're all 350 singles. It's brand new this year, brand new motorcycle, brand new engine. It has the highlights are cast wheels, ABS, 350 single. It has 5 speeds, heel toe shifter. Very interesting. Maybe we should set this up. I should take a second to do it. But this gauge is your all-in-one gauge. The one next to it, see, it says built with Google. I'm not sure you could read that 100%, but it has a thing called tripper navigation. So give me a second to set this up. Look how unscripted it is. So you go to the Royal Enfield app, and then you have to sync it with your machine. And of course I've synced mine with like all the bikes we've got in. We actually have a customers there that just got done doing their first service. Oh, I have to log in. So give me a second here. Okay, log in, turn the bike on. It syncs up. See, I've got a couple of them. We've had 3 or 4 of these bikes that I've checked in. Then I'm just gonna say that I'm going, there's my home address. We'll blur that one out. Throttle Company Vintage Motorcycles. Get directions. Okay, then you say navigate. It's going to navigate. You put it in your pocket. That's the thing I really like about the tripper, is a lot of people mount their phones. Obviously everybody mounts their phones to the handlebar, but that's not good for your camera. I've had some people who I know that have damaged their camera that way, and I just can't accept that. So I don't know if you saw how I turned it on. That's a cool thing. So I've got the clutch in. I just do that as a habit, but this is the bike's on. That starts it up. Kind of cool. First gear. This has a little bit of a forward controls, so it's not mids like you would consider on the other bikes, like an Interceptor or whatever, sort of your standard riding position. It's a little more forward, and honestly I love it. It's not like the position I want all motorcycles to be in, but it's really nice. So we're off. We have a gear indicator. We have the time. See how that says a little eco? That's just like your car. It says you're driving efficiently. That's really nice. This is a fully modern motorcycle. It's got the looks. I mean, I think they really nailed it with the look. My navigation isn't going to make any sense until we get halfway, and then it'll start navigating me back, but now it's like turn around, turn around. So I do notice that the other day someone was complaining online that it was kilometers, so they just had an update, and now it's looking like it's doing in miles. So that is awesome, because I can do kilometers, but it gets a little confusing to go back and forth between them and how fast am I going in miles. So it's nice to just stay a little standard here in the United States. So what this bike is awesome for, and we've been riding around taking it to bike nights and taking it to bike shows and stuff like that, and riding it home at night, I mean, just to make sure it's good, right? But that, I'm just joking, because it is a breeze to ride. I think their slogan, at least in India, is called Cruise Easy, And they nailed it with that. Cruise easy. I mean, this is just the easiest riding motorcycles. I mean, I have an Interceptor, and I thought that's an easy bike to ride. But this bike is just so simple. It feels like you're in an office chair just gliding down the road, and it's incredible. Honestly, it's hard to explain how easy it is. So this has got a couple miles on it. It's got 200 miles on it. I rode it I was the very first one to ride it, so I rode it with 1 mile on it or whatever. But we'll take off here. So I didn't like really nail the throttle or anything. But see, cars aren't pulling out around me and everything. It's not slow. My point is, it's got some pep. So they did something really magical with the transmission on this bike. Royal Enfield, I think, is great with the transmissions. That's one of the things that nobody ever really mentions. I mean, how sexy is the transmission? But it really always works. It always works really well, and the shifts are very positive, neutral. Finding neutral, something for a beginner or someone in the city coming up to a lot of lights, super easy to do. Always easy and consistent on this bike. But the real magic of this transmission is the fact that 5th gear, it's a 5 total gears, 5th gear is overdrive. So that gives you kind of a cruising gear. So what I mean by that is the final drive is actually less than 1 gear ratio, meaning the engine is turning, but it actually work less hard total, so your RPMs can drop down as we're cruising around. So the final drive ratio on that final gear, I think it's like 0.8 something. So that's unusual. A car has that, you know, if you're familiar with overdrive on a car, you get a little bit more better gas mileage if you're on the highway or whatever. That I put in neutral, but the motorcycles don't usually have overdrive. That's not a common thing. They're not usually about efficiency or whatever. Like, I don't know why this guy's turning on red. Very weird. So I guess I have room to pull up and try to activate the light. But that's great. You saw me get in and out of first. That's the thing you're doing on this bike. This bike in America is just the perfect city bike, or beginner bike, or getting back into it bike. A lot of these bikes that we've sold so far have been people who had a friend who's into motorcycling or a partner and they wanted to get into it too, and this is awesome for that because it can keep up, but it's unintimidating. You're not going to get into trouble with this motorcycle. You have plenty of power for what you need to do. You're not going to be like, oh, my friend has a Meteor, he can't keep up. But it's a full-on, full-size motorcycle. So it's perfect for the city. It's perfect for back roads. It's not going to be great on the highway. We can do the highway. I'll do maybe a bonus video where I'll take this thing on the highway. You can see I'm cruising right now. It's not the speed limit on this road, but I'm in 5th overdrive gear, 45. Feels fantastic. I'm talking to you like nothing. It's not like I don't feel like I'm pushing the crap out of this motorcycle. It feels like it was made to do it. It's exactly what it was made to do. Cruise around. 45, 55, 65 is probably fine. We'll see. We'll get to 65 here on the back stretch, I'm sure. Gear indicators, fantastic for the city. I'm shifting up and down. People are pulling out in front of me. If this guy's out a little too far, you get distracted. You forget what gear you're in. 2nd gear, perfect. I can remember that I'm in that gear and take off. So at some point, my navigation, my tripper navigation I was trying to show off, will make sense. It's just telling me turn around, turn around, turn around. There we go. So in a mile and a half, it's telling me to make a left. I think we're getting it. I think we're getting back to normal navigation. So that's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful part of the screen. The rest of the time when it's not navigation, it's a clock. Now I don't know what gear I should be in, because that guy was going so slow. But the rest of the time it's a clock, so it doesn't show up as anything weird. It's not just like a blank screen that you're not using, so it's something useful. But the rest of the time we get a tripper navigation, which is awesome, especially for the city, for what this bike is for adventuring. You just punch in your destination and you don't have to fumble around with your phone. You don't have to try to mount it to the handlebars. You just peek down every once in a while and see where you're supposed to turn. So this has got the bi-brake brakes, which is a division of Brembo, which is all the Royal Enfields have it. ABS, so that's good for a new rider or a city rider, someone who might deal with traffic. You slam on the brakes, it handles that, and you won't skid, that kind of thing. So you can see, if you're familiar with my other videos, You notice right there that I'm not taking it easy on these turns. This is easy riding, easy to ride, but it can handle turns. That's what a bike like this is built for. It has a 1917 tire combination, wheel size. They were cast wheels. I mentioned that at the very beginning of the video. Hold on, we'll just hear the thump, thump, thump. It's a single, so you get some thumpy single noises. So you can see, I'm almost up to highway speeds here in 4th gear. Still pulling, 60, 65. So you can hang with your friends. We'll cruise in 5th gear overdrive here, but I mean, I'm pulling the throttle back, but the bike can handle it. I'm having no problem. I don't feel like I'm on a bicycle going 100. It's no problem. So it really can handle the speed. I started to talk about the tires and the wheels. It's a 19 front, a 17 rear, and they're cast, meaning they're tubeless. So the tire is held on to the rim. That's unique for Royal Enfield. As far as I know, no other Royal Enfield has that. The Interceptors have spoked wheels. So most of the time, 9 times out of 10, maybe even more than that, when you see a spoked wheel, kind of the vintage style spoked wheel, that means it has a tube in it. And there are some new companies that have done some innovations where the spokes go to the outside and everything, but most of the time it's about holding air. With spokes, there's a million little holes and they just can't hold air. So usually that means it has to have a tube. The tube holds the air for the tire. But on these, they are tubeless. So what really makes that nice is if you're out on a road trip, you're adventuring, it's possible. Now it's not always possible, but it is a potential solution. If you were to get a puncture, like you ran over a nail or whatever, and it was just an in and out puncture, you could patch it like a car tire. Now, whether that's recommended or whatever, in an emergency situation, like I wouldn't ride on that for the next 6 months or something, but an emergency situation, if you had a flat tire on the side of the road, you could plug that tire and get you back on the road and get you back to your destination or to safety or something where you could get a new tire, that whole thing. So people in India, especially people who live in areas where they make it flat tires a lot, people who live in the city and there's debris on the road or whatever, nails, construction zone, that's huge for them. If you have a tube tire, Nicole went on a she's my business partner and my life partner, she went on a big road trip. She got a flat tire at the end, and I told her before she left, I said, if you get a flat tire, there's nothing you can do. She has tube tires, and you just the possibility of getting your bike up off the tire, pulling the tire off, changing the tube on the side of the road, you just have to get to a shop. It's not a realistic solution. So some people are excited about that. I honestly think there are pros and cons of each. Most of the vintage bikes are tubes. I have a motorcycle shop, so I can change those tires most of the time. So for me, I don't mind either one. They both have advantages and some disadvantages to each. But I didn't talk a lot about this bike as much as I really wanted to, but it's so simple. It has one button. So there's this select button. It changes, you know, the time and the miles and the trip and all that stuff. But it's just one. So it's just about freeing you up to ride your motorcycle. The heel toe shifter is interesting. If you don't care about it or if you don't feel comfortable using it, you can just use a regular toe shifting like every other motorcycle on earth. But the heel is kind of nice. It's nice, so when you click down on your heel, it actually goes up in gear. So if you're accelerating quickly, you can just kind of tap with your heel. It's pretty nice. It's interesting. It takes some getting used to, and it takes some kind of mental bandwidth to think like, okay, down is up actually, and that's a little confusing. You got the horn? I know he was going, but I did that because I was pointing out the bike. But we've got a fuel gauge. If you notice these little bars that go across here, that's fuel. So you've got everything you need. You got your miles per hour. You do not have a tach. There's a rev limiter. You're not gonna over rev it. It's a modern bike, but it's not a performance bike, so they feel like you just really don't need a tach. I like having a tach, but this bike is about keeping it simple, so they don't have one. Gear indicator, of course, like I mentioned, the mile, the odometer, and everything like that. So I love it. Honestly, when I first got on this bike, I was expecting, and maybe a lot of you watching this are expecting it to be extremely underpowered. And I really think it's about how it is not underpowered, especially based on my expectations. And it is, they make great use of it with that transmission. Let's see if I can slide in here. Well, anyway, here we are back at Throttle Company. So you could test ride this bike. We have them. I don't know, other dealers are getting them. Like I said, one of our customers has them. We get a shipment, I think, next week of another 3. So they're coming in all the time is my point. Hey, look, I arrived at my destination. So they're beautiful motorcycles. They're just so easy. If you're, like I said, the main people that I think this is for is beginners. Of course, there's just nothing about this that is intimidating, or any more intimidating than just any other motorcycle, or coming back to motorcycling. Or I know we sold a bike to a guy who had ridden some vintage singles, so an old BSA, which is a British company, just the same as Royal Enfield was when they started out, a British single, and he'd ridden it and he loved it, and he just fell in love with that kind of British single thing, and so he wanted a Meteor. So if you think that you just want to try it out or whatever, we do the test rides. All you need is a motorcycle license, and you need to bring your gear, and that's it. And then you go with us and we go on that same route that I just did. It's great. You get a lot of turns, you get to fully experience the motorcycle, and stick around, because I'm going to do a highway run. I'm going to get on the highway here and kind of do the opposite of the route I just did, but that'll be a little bonus episode. But I appreciate you watching these. This has been another episode of In the Loop. I really appreciate it. Stick around, subscribe to the channel. I don't usually say that kind of stuff, but if you like seeing what it's like to ride all these different motorcycles, and I don't care about brands. I mean, I know we're a Royal Enfield dealer and this is a Royal Enfield video, but I got a Honda in the window. I got just about every brand in here, Triumphs and BSAs and Nortons and Honda and Suzuki and Yamaha, all of them, Kawasaki. So if you like that kind of stuff, you'll like my channel. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you next time.